Hello, Dr. Greg here with another video. I'm going to take a little side trip from sitting and talking about fear and anger, since there's a lot of fear and anger out there. And I want you to understand where fear starts, how it affects our brains, and later on in other videos I'm going to talk about how we might be able to deal with that. So where fear comes from, or where fear is perpetuated or started, is in a place called the amygdala. And that is found right there, the amygdala. Now, if you notice, it's really close to the brainstem, and there's a reason for that. So the amygdala, I'm going to show you a 3D model of a brain where the amygdala is located. Those are the green markers. That's where the amygdala is located in the temporal lobe, and pretty close to what we call the midbrain, or the spinal cord, and it's not the spinal cord, the brainstem, and the pons of the brainstem right here. So what happens is you get fear, you get a fearful incident or something along those lines of frustration or whatever. That occurs right here in what we call the frontal lobe, or the prefrontal gyrus, just the frontal lobe, or prefrontal cortex, excuse me. That sends information to the amygdala, which then sends information to the pituitary gland, which actually produces stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline. You've heard about, oh, my adrenaline's up, my cortisol is up. Well, that occurs right there, and that spills into your spinal cord, and then spills to the rest of your body to get you to do things, whether to run, to fight, or whatever. That's what the cortisol does. Now, what happens is when you're constantly feeding fear, which happens in propaganda, the amygdala gets overexcited over a period of time, and then you have something called neuroplasticity occur, or negative neuroplasticity, because high levels of stress hormones adversely affect your frontal lobe. It actually kills nerves in your frontal lobe. And the frontal lobe is all about reason and calmness and logic. So stress, fear, anger, all that actually suppresses frontal lobe activity, so you're unable to reason properly. You ever get into a heated argument with someone, you know that you're throwing insults at each other and you're not really listening anymore. That's the amygdala going, and that's the frontal lobe getting suppressed. So that's just a little education on where all our fear and anger goes in our brains and how it affects our brains. In later videos this week, I'm going to talk about what we might be able to do about reversing that anger and fear and reducing the bad neuroplasticity that occurs in our brains. So this is Dr. Greg, changing the way we look at health.